When it comes to small SUVs, Australians are looking for something that's high-riding, affordable and well-featured, which is why, yet again, Australia's biggest selling small SUV is the Mitsubishi AS... What the f... This is the MG ZS, which has bounced back from the depths of COVID lockdown to hit the first quarter of 2021 running, with a 300% jump in sales to leapfrog the likes of the Hyundai Kona and Mitsubishi ASX with a bullet to be Australia's biggest selling small SUV. It has also helped MG become the first Chinese manufacturer to hit the top 10 car makers in Australia. The ZS has satisfied a demand for an affordable SUV with a $21,000 starting price that brings a brand new package for a used car price tag, and in the process has beaten the ASX at its own game. Late last year, MG introduced a more sophisticated variant called the ZST, which brings more power and more high-tech features to take on upper-spec turbocharged small SUVs. The ZST comes in two flavours, the Excite and Essence. The Excite retails for $28,490, with this price bringing a punchy 1.3 litre turbo engine, LED headlights and taillights, MG Pilot Advanced Driver Assistance, a 360-degree camera and keyless entry. For an extra $3,000 you can get the ZST Essence that has all that plus a panoramic sunroof, digital instrument cluster, front seat heating and driver's seat power settings. To get all that in some of its rivals you'd have to spend around $40,000, while even the top spec ASX with the not so lively 2.4 litre engine will set you back $33,490. Let's look at what the ZST brings in more detail and whether these features represent good value or if they're just window dressing. Outside, the ZST looks a lot different to the ZS. It's got a newly designed front end that looks a lot more aggressive and sporty, and that's sort of all complemented by a lot of black touches including the grille and the mirror caps. There are 17-inch alloy wheels, full LED lighting including its attractive DRLs, and the doors feel quite solid when you give them a good thunk. Its inside with the ZST represents more showroom appeal for anyone looking for a small SUV for about $30K. It's got synthetic leather seats and a leather trimmed steering wheel, both with contrasting stitching. The seats are quite soft and comfortable and they provide good side bolstering around the bum and hip, but they're not so tight so you feel squished in. The front seats are heated and the driver's seat has basic power settings. Around the cabin there are some hard plastics, particularly on the doors, but the dashboard top is quite soft, as are most of the touch points and even the front fascia as well. As with the exterior, the interior looks fresher than the more affordable ZS versions. This actually seems more like an updated ZS than a higher spec variant. It has a 10.1-inch floating touchscreen instead of that smaller one in the ZS that's embedded that looks quite dated. This is quite attractive and it points to the driver a bit, but to me it is just a little bit low there under the air vents, so when you're driving and navigating in particular you do have to look down a bit. There are some physical buttons neatly arranged underneath too. It's things like the volume control for the audio, it's a button, I'd rather a dial, but they're neatly arranged, and then any other functions that aren't there are easily accessible via the screen, so it's a nice balance between haptic buttons and digital. The touchscreen is complemented by a full digital gauge cluster that's really quite attractive. The steering wheel in front of it is also quite nice, it's leather trimmed, though it does feel a bit hard. And one thing that really does bug me, while it goes up and down, it doesn't come out and in, which isn't really good if you've got overly long legs or short arms like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. The adaptive cruise control is controlled from a stalk, which can be a bit fiddly, but it is quite intuitive, so once you get used to it, it'll be fine. The panoramic sunroof in the top spec Essence is huge, it takes up the whole roof, and the front part of it opens up as well. This is one of the roomiest rear seats I've been in a small SUV. There's heaps of legroom. Headroom's a bit compromised because of the sunroof, so anyone taller than me might feel that, but otherwise it's really comfortable. The cushion really comes out, so you've got plenty of under thigh support. I can think of a few SUVs where they'll probably end about 3 inches back. And the backrests, while they're not adjustable, they've got quite a nice rake in them, so you can really just sit back and enjoy the ride. 3 adults in the back here would be a hell of a stretch, but you'd probably fit 3 kids okay, but 2 adults would be really comfortable. There's no fold down centre armrest, but that's okay. As far as amenities go, there's mat pockets, a couple door bins to put your bottles and things, and there are 2 USB sockets. Boot space is a handy 359 litres, which is about average for a small SUV. The floor height can be adjusted so it's sitting level with the boot lip or deeper for when you want to carry more, and there are two handy little storage areas between each wheel arch. And you can carry up to 1187 litres by folding down the 60/40 split seats, though they don't really fold that flat. And if you have a flat tyre, there is a space saver spare wheel below the boot floor. So it's quite a good package, but as usual, the proof is in the driving. The ZST comes with a 1.3 litre turbocharged petrol engine that produces 115 kilowatts and 230 newton metres. It's a pretty good engine, it does the job well, and it drives the front wheels via a 6-speed automatic that, you know, some cars have more advanced dual clutches and all that, but I think it's better than a CVT, and it's actually quite smooth. It finds gears well, it's pretty seamless going through the gears, and in sport mode it gets up to rev quite quickly. This also has one of the better active safety suites of any car for its price. As well as AEB, you get the adaptive cruise control with stop and go function, rear cross traffic alert, blind spot monitor. It even detects speed signs and will even slow the car to that sign if you set it that way. It won't only do it automatically, which would be quite a pain. The suspension is pretty basic, McPherson struts at the front, torsion beams at the back, and it's a bit firm, probably because they want to give it a bit of a sporty handling, but you do feel it over speed bumps, so it is a bit harsh that way. It does ride on 17-inch alloy wheels, which look a little bit too small for this car, but that does allow for chunkier rubber, and the rubber's pretty good too. It's Michelin Primacy 3, which are very good tyres, particularly in the wet like we're driving on now. Just a couple of things I noticed. There's a little bit of play in the steering wheel, but not too much, and it steers okay. It's light, does the job. In sports mode it doesn't seem to get any heavier or anything like that. The gear shift is a little bit fiddly. It sort of doesn't feel too solid when you go up and down the gears, but I'm a bit nitpicking here because otherwise everything else seems quite fine. The next question, I guess, is how will it hold up? What will it be like in a few years' time? Well, you know, MG are so sure in this product, they've given it a 7-year warranty that matches Kia, so, you know, there's peace of mind there. From what I can tell, the way MG have kept the cost down is by wisely choosing what to put in the car and what to leave out. It's that balance between features and affordability that really makes this a good value prospect and won't have you thinking that you've compromised on quality. It's well equipped, it's well put together, and it drives nicely. And if you're budget conscious and you go for this because it's cheaper, you're not really just getting an Audi SUV. But having said that, in isolation, this is actually a fun little SUV.